So, after nearly 12 years and 11 seasons, The Walking Dead has finally ended. Well, not really. Spinoffs galore are coming, but how do you make a satisfying finale to a show that has probably been on TV for maybe 5 seasons too long? Well, the short answer is you can't, and I'm going to talk about that next. Dave Wall here with Wall Digital Media, and we're going to talk about that Walking Dead finale. But like I said, it's not a finale. It's the last 30 minutes of the show, and maybe it wasn't that long. It just felt that way. But I was feeling like I was in the theater watching the ending of Return of the King, and I was like, when is this going to end? It was, oh, let's hug this person. Oh, let's see this person and hug them. Oh, there's someone. Let's hug them. It was just hug after hug after hug. And I'm like, did they just record the rap party and put that in the episode? That's what it felt like. But anyway, let's talk about this a little bit. So this show basically, because they announced the spin-offs of, what is it, Dead City, I think, with Maggie and Negan in New York, and then I think Daryl's going to Paris, maybe. Anytime those characters were in danger, you knew they were going to be fine because they've got a spin-off show coming. So, no big deal. No big deal at all. And it just disappointing finale. And like I say, this show really should have ended about 5 or 6 years ago. And at this point, I would have taken there was a rumor for a long time that the show was going to end kind of like it began with Rick waking up in the hospital from a fever dream, and it was all going to have been a dream, kind of like the Bobby Ewing episode where he got out of the shower at the end, and it pretty much wiped out the entire season before of Dallas because the producers knew they had jumped the shark so much on that season. It sounds like a silly cop-out, but now I would have been fine with that because you could have tacked on a scene after Rick wakes up and he's fine again, and him and Shane are out on patrol. They start hearing reports on the radio of some crazy stuff going on, and then you see the start of the zombie apocalypse. And it could have been all like a premonition in his dream while he was in a coma. And that would have been a decent ending. I would have liked that. And they set up a decent ending in this episode, the finale. I don't know if they were trying to, or if they even realized that they were setting something up that would have been like a perfect bookend, and then they didn't. So as me and my wife were watching, and those of you who did watch, and by the way, there's spoilers all through this, so don't even think I'm not going to talk about what happened. I'm not going to talk a lot about it because I don't want to really do an in-depth review of this. But Judith got shot at the end of the previous episode, and they're trying to get her into the hospital. And once they do get into the hospital, it's been overrun. Pamela's taken all the medical personnel to the estates because they want the rich people to be fine, and have all the good stuff. Kind of the way our society operates, Nice to know nothing changes after a zombie apocalypse, the people in charge. Anyway, I'm not getting political there at all. But anyway, so they barricade Judith in a room, and my wife saw that, and she said, "Oh, I think I know what they're setting up here." And I started thinking about it too, and I was like, "Oh, like this. I like where this mic could go. And they just totally didn't go there. So I don't think if they were like, oh, let's put this in here and try to make everybody think that's what's going to happen. But it would have been so good. You could have moved the final battle to around the hospital, basically. And because zombies were coming in. It was crazy. It was crazy. You had the... And why did they wait so long to make the zombies interesting? Where they could climb walls and pick up tools and or rocks and beat windows open. You could have done this 3, 4, 5 years ago and given it a whole new life. But anyway, I digress again. So, as they're barricading Judith in this room and all hell's breaking loose with these zombies and everything, it could have slowly started zooming in to Judith's face from above, kind of blurring slightly, and the noise of the pandemonium of the zombies, of the gunfire, everything just starts slowly fading away, and then it comes back to her, comes back up. She gets up. It's the year later, which they did. They did a year later time jump, and it could have been basically, I guess, the wrap party again with everybody hugging, and everything was cool. It would have been a nice little bookend to what happened, and we don't need to know how they fixed everything or won the battle, because Judith and Carl were always set up to kind of be the future of society, and then they did something stupid and killed off Carl, and that's when a lot of people checked out. If you go back and look at the season viewing after Carl died, it went from a high of 17 million viewers to this season averaged 2 million viewers. You go from 17 million to 2 million in 4 or 5 seasons, so... And you can trace that back to Carl dying, you really can. And then a massive jump off after Rick died, too. So, like I say, this show should have ended about 5 years ago. If you knew Carl, and I don't know if it was them thinking, oh, here's a plot device, let's kill Carl, or did he want to leave the show and have a normal life while he was still in high school, which I have no problem with that. Go out and live your life. They could have found a way to start wrapping it up then, but they chose not to do so. So anyway, the Judith thing could have been a great ending, but instead we didn't get any kind of closure. We just get setups for spinoffs. Even the scene with which this was actually one of the better scenes in the episode, was Maggie and talking to Negan and just reminding him what he took from her when he killed Glenn. And basically all that's doing, even though it was a great scene, it was setting up their dynamic moving forward into this new show. But again, you had anytime they were in danger this year, even part of last year, because I think they had announced those shows a while back. But this season was split up into 3 parts, so that seems like a long time ago. There was just no stakes for them, because you knew they were going to get out of it. So anyway, here we go with the spin-offs. We've already had 2, 3 now. Fear the Walking Dead, which was really meandering for a long time. I watched it, but it was so slow and plotting, and I was like, that first season was rough to get through. It really was. And then they decided to move Morgan to Fear the Walking Dead, and it jumped up a few levels then, and was actually good for a couple, 3 seasons, and last year it kind of started getting strange again. Not really sure where it's going to go, and they've just brought back Madison, so I don't know. about that. Then we had Brave New World. No, that's a novel and a very good Iron Maiden album. Strange New World. No, that's Star Trek. Brave. No, I said Brave New World. Strange New World. New World. World Beyond. The World Beyond. That's how forgettable it is that I couldn't remember that. The World Beyond, which was very cheap looking, and looked like The Walking Dead if it was made by the CW. So I did not like that show at all. They did bring in some production value for the after credits scene of season 2, which thankfully that show only lasted 2 seasons. It's amazing how bad the acting was on that show. Even when they brought in, I can't remember her name now. She was in charge of the garbage people on The Walking Dead. She was such a good actress on The Walking Dead, but when they brought her over to World Beyond, it's like, she just can't act. So it's obviously the directors and writers just bad. And then you have Tales of the Walking Dead, which I made it through 2 episodes. The first episode was decent. Terry Crews in a Walking Dead episode, that was a lot of fun. But it kind of went off the rails at the end of that episode. Got very cheesy. And the second episode was basically Groundhog's Day for the zombie apocalypse. Bad. So bad. They did 6 episodes of that. Like I say, I've only seen the first 2. It probably won't be back. I haven't even looked at the ratings for it, but they can't be good. So the show I'm interested in is the Michonne and Rick 6 episode that they're doing to wrap them up. That was the most interesting part of the finale. Was setting that up, where you've got Michonne and Rick kind of going back and forth, and it's obvious that they're in 2 different time zones. No, there's no Doctor Who. There's no time traveling in The Walking Dead, although that would have been more interesting than what we got. But it's obvious that Rick's in the past and Michonne is present day, because he looks exactly like he did when he blew up the bridge, basically, and he's wearing a jacket that's got like the markings of that group. And they recapture him in a helicopter, but he throws a bag onto a boat, and I'm pretty sure, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the bag that has the stuff in it that Michonne found on the boat a couple of seasons ago when she was out looking for Rick. So she's looking for Rick, and now Daryl's leaving the community to look for Rick and Michonne as well. So everything will wrap up at some point. I don't think the Daryl show is going to last more than 1 or 2 seasons. I don't think the Maggie and Negan show are going to last more than 1 or 2 seasons. They're calling this the Walking Dead universe, and it would have been a great universe 5, 6, 7 years ago. They could have made a show set in another country with all new characters, showing how this was handled somewhere else. But they decided not to do that. It's time to wrap up The Walking Dead. It's past time to wrap up The Walking Dead. And I just can't tell you how sad it makes me, how cool this show was at one point. We live in Georgia. Sonoya is an hour up the road. I have been to the walls of Alexandria. I have seen the prison. I have been to Nick and Norman's burger restaurant in Sonoya, which is Norman Reedus's burger place. The Walking Dead was at one time just must-see television. You just didn't miss an episode. Everybody talked about it. At work, we talked about Walking Dead. A friend of mine was an extra on the show at one point. Another friend of mine was a stand-in for the governor. A lot of connection to this show. It was really, really good. And now when I talk to some of my friends about it, it's like, oh, I'm 2 seasons behind. I'm 3 seasons behind. So that's just how far this show has fallen from being the most watched show on cable TV with 17.3 million viewers down to 2.2 million viewers for this season. So I think another problem the show had is it became like a video game at some point where you have level boss fight, level boss fight, level boss fight. And you had the governor, you had the whisperers, you had Pamela, Negan. It just went from one boss fight to the next, and it was like every time things would be good, it's like, okay, well, they're going to set up something bad for next year, and there's going to be someone in charge of that they have to fight, and then there's going to be someone in charge of the next thing that they're going to have to fight, and it started getting monotonous, so goodbye Walking Dead. I will cherish the good memories of watching this show with my friends and talking about it. That's all I've got. I went on way much longer than I was planning to, but this show, I hate to see good shows go bad. And that's what happened with Walking Dead. But I stuck it out to the end, and we'll see where it goes from here. So if you liked what I said, give me a like, a comment, subscribe. If not, like, comment, subscribe, and you can argue with me about other things later. All right, this is Dave Wall, Wall Digital Media. Talk to you next time.